Welcome to the City of Cedar Falls Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, June 21st, 2021. I'll now call this meeting to order. Tonight, we're going to see presentations and have a chance to ask some questions on the Grow Cedar Valley and the cash management report. Without further ado, I believe we're going to start with the Grow Cedar Valley update, and I believe Ms. Carrie Dara is here to do the presentation. Welcome.
So I don't have to introduce myself. But thank you. Carrie Dara, President and CEO, Grow Cedar Valley. Thank you, and as always, we appreciate your time and your interest and support and everything that we get from the City of Cedar Falls. These updates are very important to us as deliverables to the City of Cedar Falls, and so I know they're important to you as well. We've come through a year that no one foresaw or could have prepared for, and yet through collaborations and communication and support, we have a community of vitality and promise and a lot to be proud of. A rapidly deployed vaccine has given new life to area businesses. Doors are open. Employees are going back to the office, or they're continuing to work remotely, but that's because they choose to. And innovation has emerged as the dominating factor. Tonight we'll begin with Lisa Skubel, who's our Vice President of Economic Development. And Lisa leads our critical outreach with the city on business expansion, retention, and recruitment. And she's also leading Grow Cedar Valley's innovation efforts. So Lisa?
Thank you, Carrie. Since I don't need any introductions either, I'll continue on. First of all, it's good to see all of you in person instead of via Zoom. We did find we can be productive via Zoom, but that's only when we're talking to companies halfway around the world and talking to them about the great communities we have here, including the City of Cedar Falls for companies expanding. So it does have its opportunities with that, but it's good to be here in person and speak with you tonight. We continue to appreciate your collaboration with us, especially while we continue to help our existing business with workforce issues, supply chain innovation that Carrie just mentioned, and retention and expansion. As we all know, most of our business development comes from our existing businesses. We certainly do recruit new industries as well, but it's always important to remind ourselves of it and not overlook that opportunity and obvious need that we have right now that our existing businesses rely on. Us as Grow Cedar Valley, but also the City of Cedar Falls as well. Since our last update in December, we saw an increase of 7 new project leads, as opposed to the large food-related projects we saw initially at the beginning of the pandemic, the first half of last fiscal year. These projects were a mix. What we've seen since then, since December when we gave an update, we've been seeing a mix of durable goods in addition to some food-related leads, but we also saw it slow down between November and February, and it has had a slight uptick since then. We have, in your packet, you have a QR code where you can scan on your cell phone to see the aggregate results of a 2020 pandemic existing business report. It's rather a handy little QR code as opposed to sending an email link, and you talk about immediate gratification of being able to look at that report. I encourage you to look at that. These existing business interviews were done in part with an initiative, a statewide initiative called the Best of Iowa. I know that we have said before these interviews help guide us on initiatives important to existing businesses, but it really doesn't. It has this year. From these interviews and our outreach from our existing businesses last summer and fall, we were seeing the need of businesses who are trying to get a better handle on wages and benefits as they recover from the pandemic and be able to scale their workforce back up. We have executed the first 6-county regional wage and benefit survey last month, and we thought that was important for our existing businesses to put something tangible in their hands right now, current data that they can use to be able to determine how competitive they need to be to attract the thin workforce that is out there right now. So we just received that report. It's a 60-page report. We plan on getting that out here in the next couple days to the existing businesses who participated in that survey so they can, again, make an informed decision about benefit and wages they need to be paying in the Cedar Falls and the Cedar Valley to stay competitive. We did the 6-county radius because that is the area we generally pull workforce in and out of Cedar Falls, for example. We have also just recently, in the last month or so, started our 2021 interviews with a concerted effort toward meeting with small, medium-sized manufacturers that are part of that innovation Carrie just described. Last week, the state released a new grant opportunity for small and medium-sized manufacturers. They're identified as employing 75 people or less. The grant program intends to help offset their costs for them so they can adopt new technologies, not only to keep them competitive in the global marketplace, but maybe as an alternative to some of the workforce that they previously needed before the pandemic. We have already followed up with some of the mid-sized manufacturers that we previously met with in the last couple months about this opportunity, including one Cedar Falls manufacturer who immediately responded as soon as he saw the email and excited about the grant opportunity. And when the state opens the program come September, he wants to be first in line with his application so he can continue to do the next iteration of adopt the next iteration of technology for his company to stay competitive in the next 40 years. We embark on new initiatives on innovation, which includes a collaboration with the TechWorks. Now, the TechWorks you may know as a building, but it's much larger than that when we talk about in the context of innovation, especially in manufacturing, because there's components that we are talking about right now, which I won't go into detail because it could take the whole 20 minutes, but it's wrapped around a similar initiative that the state of Iowa, under Debbie Durham's leadership, started executing the first of this year. So we're doing it in tandem and together with the state of Iowa. And right now, because the work is happening so fast, we're meeting with the state virtually every 2 weeks, and they'll be here July 7th in person to talk more detail of what that looks like. Also, if you have time on Wednesday from 10:30 to 2:30, considering attending UNI's Advanced Manufacturing Center at the TechWorks. You will see the latest in 3D printing technology and robotics. So we expect a lot of companies. This gives those small, medium-sized manufacturers an opportunity to see the equipment firsthand and be able to see what the technology UNI is going to continue to bring forth in their advanced manufacturing consortium. Some of that innovation footprint includes regional initiatives that support creating the next iteration of community competitiveness, that further elevate a place to live and a place to work over the next 15 to 20 years. With many businesses and even manufacturers doing a reset following the pandemic, it's a perfect time for communities to follow suit. By the time we provide you your next update, we will have a more contextual strategies to share, including a plan for what that looks like. For us to be competitive in the future, we need to provide our existing businesses and the people that live here the best opportunity and best place to live and work. Right now we're calling the group regional competitive. Thank you, Carrie. We've been through a lot of iterations with this name, but I think we've settled on Regional Competitiveness Council. We mentioned that to IEDA's Jill Leppincott during a call last week, and she just loved the concept. So we know we're on the right path. Since we've gotten good with Zoom meetings, we just started a targeted marketing effort to identify companies in the Netherlands interested in establishing U.S. facilities. Our goal is 6 virtual meetings by the end of this year. This is to build on the base we already have here in Cedar Falls. We've been happy to support the city and be part of the certification of 200 acres in Cedar Falls Industrial Park, including a visit last month by Quest Consulting, who manages the certification process on behalf of the state of Iowa. Normally, this process can take 18 months from beginning to end for most sites and cities. Cedar Falls has already done much of the due diligence when they applied or started the process, and so it's going to take a lot less time than the 18 to 20 months, and hopefully a shorter time frame for the certification because you've already done this due diligence along with Shane's leadership. I'm going to turn the mic over to Carrie, and Carrie's going to give an update on the diversity and inclusion talent component. And then following her, we will have Aaron Jarnigan talk about a unique feature we talked about at a high level last time, a live robot concierge service on our site selection page, What I've asked him to do is report on what type of engagement we've received so far and how we've paired that with LinkedIn marketing, as well as Live the Valley programming that he leads us on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Normally, Will Frost would be here giving the talent development update, and he's on PTO. So I have his notes, and I'll do my best to be as thorough as Will would have been for you. But talent initiatives, our talent recruitment and retention remains a priority for every business and every industry, not only in the Cedar Valley, but across the country. And it has been and will continue to be a priority for Grow Cedar Valley in every facet of our organization. You could hear several of the things that Lisa was touching on, even included talent. So everything on every team member in our office will be working on talent initiatives. That includes business support, that would include talent recruitment, developing the current workforce with updates and trends in job training. We need to make sure that every participating possible employee is working and is in the workplace, and we can plug them in with a job and a position with the training that they may need to be contributing and really strengthen our economy. Develop and implement diversity and equity inclusion plans. Our businesses are asking for help in that, and we're happy to do that. We've got several different areas that we can be helpful in reviewing application process for several talent applications and talent positions. We're finding that employers are wondering if their application process is right in sync with what it needs to be with the kind of talent they're looking for, and we're helpful in that. As far as programming goes, and I'll be brief because I want Aaron to really have some time, the development of the Ignite program is a talent development initiative, and it's a partnership with Hawkeye Community College, University of Northern Iowa, Deere, and many other industry reps. And it's an apprenticeship program specific to manufacturing, and it's really getting a lot of traction. And it's actually going to be a pilot model that could be replicated across the state. We have One Cedar Valley, which is an initiative that empowers and embraces underrepresented citizens in the Cedar Valley, and we know that that's a big need in filling our workforce gap. That celebrates diversity and inclusion. We also participate very heavily in diversity and inclusion through the Blackhawk County Equity Initiative, Cedar Falls Racial Equity Task Force, Economic Inclusion Network, and we're in the process now of planning the 5th Annual Economic Inclusion Summit that is hosted by UNI and Grow Cedar Valley. But one of the other outreach projects that's really grown at Grow Cedar Valley over the last several years is Live the Valley, and it's our regional magazine and website designed to feature the Cedar Valley and all of the things that are needed to grow your business and grow your community. And we, as mentioned, Lisa mentioned, we have Aaron Jarnigan, our Director of Marketing, who will touch on that, as well as other things that are being worked on with degree of Live the Valley. Aaron.
Well, following suit, I guess I don't need to introduce myself, but thank you all again just for this time this evening. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. It is nice to be back in person. Last time it was virtual, and this is so nice, so it's good to see all of you. Before I get into Live the Valley, one of the projects that I want to touch on that we've been really excited about, and Lisa touched on it a little bit, talking about the robotic, some of those things that we're plugging into our website is called Project Engage. If you look in that packet that we submitted, it's right at the beginning. What we're really excited about with this project is it's all about making sure that our name is out there in the domestic and global market space when companies are looking to relocate and expand. And it's kind of cool, kind of creepy, but we'll get there in a second. But one thing we're really excited about is using digital marketing, social media advertising, like Lisa mentioned, and LinkedIn's been the primary one that we've been using. And so we're actually able to target CEOs, C-suite executives, development directors for all these global companies. And we have some targeted industry sets, so like pharmaceuticals, durable goods, manufacturing, and there's a few others as well. And we're able to actually identify those individuals and those individuals that are working for companies that are growing. So just prime companies that are going to be potentially looking to expand and relocate. And so the creepy part of that is once we actually hit them with our advertising, get them to our website, we actually are able to pull their IP addresses and then cross-reference them with databases and get an idea of the companies that are actually looking at our website. So super cool, again, a little creepy. But then it's great information for us because we're able to see what types of industries are looking. We're able to see if there's a higher engagement rate among one industries over the others. So we're able to tweak our messaging a little bit. So we've been really excited about that. We've had a lot of luck in the country and even externally, and so you can see there's a screenshot there of some of the states that are highlighted where we've had some really good engagement. And then continuing on, once they get to our website, we do get to pull those IP addresses. We don't see those personally, if that helps a little bit with the creepiness. But then also they're presented with a chat bot that instantly messages them when they get onto our website. So even if we're not available, if we're not in the office, they can engage with somebody that we've hired, and actually we'll talk to them about some of the benefits of relocating here, looking here, providing them with resources, and then if needed, providing them with our contact information so we can have further discussion. So really excited about that. So if you go down a few pages, and I'll touch on Live the Valley. So talent right now, of course, is a really tough topic just because there's a lot of different, I would just say, facets that we need to approach this from. So you've heard already about a lot of the development that's going on in the Cedar Valley. I focus mostly on the attraction part of it. How do we promote the Cedar Valley, Cedar Falls, Waterloo to, folks who are potentially looking to relocate, and talking about the many amenities that we have here. So if you're not familiar with Live the Valley, just a quick recap of what that is. It serves two purposes. One, it's a branding arm for the Cedar Valley. So it's a digital marketing initiative. There's a website, there's a magazine, both print and digital, and there's a social media presence, just with the total goal of just promoting our area, the many attributes of our area, and the many assets. And then when we promote them, we invite people to come in, to sign up to get information, and then we send them information over time. That includes jobs, that includes opportunities. One of my favorites is we have a 50 best date ideas list. People really enjoy that. It's fun to watch people Google that and engage with that. But then the second reason why it exists is for talent and for recruiters. So when they, they're really adept with their culture, their job information, their benefits, and they can sell those all day. But sometimes a community, especially a regional community, can be hard to package. So we made that really, really easy so that when they send out that information about their company, they can also include this as well. Because really, if we're going to move forward in this talent initiative, we have to be pulling in folks from outside of Iowa. We can't just pull from each other all day long because we're not going to win. But you can see in there's been a lot of good growth over time. We did pull back a little bit at the beginning of the pandemic, but now we're getting our cadence back again and having a lot of fun with that. We're always developing new content. We just released an article on career-focused education talking about not only do you get a great education here, but also your kids are going to be exposed to great career opportunities so that as they move forward through their schooling, they can have an idea of what they're interested in, what they want to go into. And then the last note that I have on that is we really believe in the power of resources with Live the Valley. You can send out advertising that says, you can live, work, and play here. You can have the best life here, but if you don't back it up with anything or don't allow anybody to experience that for themselves, it's going to fall flat. So one thing that we have on our website is a cost of living calculator, and there is a QR code included in there. That's a lot of fun. We've had a ton of success with that. Just, we can send out that we have an attractive cost of living, but if you don't showcase what that is or allow somebody to experience what that means, it really doesn't mean a lot. So we invite users to actually enter in where they're from, what they make, and then they can compare the cost of living right there, and it compares housing, food, medical, transportation, all that good stuff. So I'd invite you to look at that. And then secondly is our job board. And that really, again, serves two purposes. So we promote the job board heavily inside the Cedar Valley and outside. We think that the number one indicator for success with hiring is if your job has the most exposure out there. You need to get it in all the right places and make sure it's in front of folks. So that job board is a great place, and we've seen a lot of success with that. Carrie just said that we got an email from an investor that said we saved them $8,000 on some hiring costs because they put it on there and got somebody. And I said, well, we should see a little bit of that, so we'll have to get back to them on that. And then lastly, we're really excited because the state's really doing a good job of getting their ducks in a row to kind of take Live the Valley, or take their own rendition of Live the Valley at the state level. So it's called This Is Iowa, and it's kind of just easy to think that it's Live the Valley, but for the state. They're doing it all themselves. But one thing that we've been excited about is they've taken a lot of interest in our cost of living calculator. So we've had meetings with them about how can they set that up at a state level so they can have the same success that we've had. So that really kind of sums up most of my presentation for today. I want to totally just go off topic for a second and just thank this police officer over here. I just want to say this weekend my wife and I served at church, and we were helping an old lady. She had her tire go flat, and we got it raised up, and it was so corroded on there we could not get it off. We were kicking it for 45 minutes, and this young police officer was one of our friends there that knew him, invited him to come, and he kicked it off in 2 seconds. So I just wanted to give you some credit and say whoever's training him, they're doing a great job. But just thank you for that. We appreciate it. I joke with my wife, though, afterwards. I said, you can't serve at church if you don't help an older lady change her tire, right? I feel like that's it. But thank you. I apologize for putting you on the spot. But thank you so much again. It's because of your support and your partnership that this cool stuff is able to take place and we're able to have real results. So we really appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Carrie for closing remarks.
Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Lisa. So normally, our board chair, Chris Faraday, would close up our comments, and he had a change in his schedule that couldn't be couldn't be worked around. So I'm happy to close it up. But again, you have the packet of information. I think we're doing a better job of getting that information to you in a packet form and really some real visuals so that you can see a lot of what we were just talking about. These were updates that may not be included in your packet. So as important as us giving you an update is, we really, really appreciate your feedback and your questions and reaching out to us. If there's something in that packet or something that we've just thrown at you that didn't make sense or you want to learn more, we can either answer questions tonight or you can reach out to us at any time. If there's any questions at the moment for Lisa or Aaron or myself.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Councilmember Cruz?
This may not be in your field, but with the airlines now going to 2 flights a day, and I just took a flight here earlier in the week, or last week, it was virtually full. I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, have you got any feedback from Keith out there yet?
Yep. Yeah, as you know, I serve on the airport board too, and then we have the task force. But the biggest issue through the pandemic, obviously the pandemic itself, but then the scheduling when you have one flight that's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you get into Chicago late in the afternoon, you either have to stay overnight or you were just going to Chicago. So
you drive.
yeah, or drive somewhere else. But so the schedule was really, really harmful to trying to get some traction. So back to 2 flights a day, and they're reasonable times. We are working really hard with looking at a 3rd route eventually, but in the meantime, we need to strengthen the 2 that are there. And so the next bidding cycle is this fall, and 3 of our members of the task force will be going to that roundup to really talk to the airlines and see if American is still the airline that's going to either be bid or provide the best service and be the most reliable, or if another airline might.
Well, I was happy to see that the first departing flight wasn't at 6 in the morning,
Just a little later, but
9:20 or something like that.
but you could still get, you're right, you could still get a connecting
You can
flight
get
at a
somewhere
reasonable time.
and not have to
Right.
wake up at 4 in the morning to
Yeah.
get ready. I
But
like
you only
that.
had 5 minutes to drive, it's not like Cedar
Yeah.
Rapids, so.
Exactly, exactly. No, I tell
Thank you.
Keith.
No,
tell
and
Keith-
you've been part of those conversations, so I appreciate your interest. What else? Anything?
Any other questions?
Well, you know where to find us. if
We
you-
do, and thank you, Carrie, and the rest of the team in Grow Cedar Valley for everything you do.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, next up, we have Miss Lisa Redding with the Cash Management Report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and good evening, everyone. Let's see. Cash management report tonight for the fiscal year 2022. The objectives tonight will be to review the investments and the rates of return, reviewing the operating cash reserves, and provide a snapshot of our financial position, and to review our capital expenditure area. Performing this financial analysis actually provides really good information on the current and the future state of the city's finances. The city's short-term excess funds are kept in a checking account and 3 liquid money market accounts. For this fiscal year, the past 10 months, we've been able to earn just over $76,000 in interest income with those excess funds. The average rate of return, however, is down to 0.37% this fiscal year. Fiscal year 20 was 1.89, and fiscal year 19 was the 2.77. Due to the pandemic, we have seen significant rate drops this past year. As city staff, we want to be wise stewards of the public resources that we do receive. Iowa Code does require political subdivisions to comply with Chapter 12B, which is the security of revenues, and Chapter 12C, which is deposit of public funds. We must also have a written investment policy on hand, and we do. This is found in the administrative policy number 8, which is cash management and investments. As part of this policy, we do set 3 priorities in managing our public funds. We want to maintain the safety of the principal, so we want to make sure that we can get all of our money back once we invest them. We want to maintain necessary liquidity to meet our current liabilities and to have funds available for emergency needs. And the third one is we want to maintain a reasonable rate of return or a yield on these investments. We focus on seeking a reasonable rate of return with the city investments while still preserving the capital and maintaining cash reserves for our cash flow needs. Cash is the most liquid asset, and it is vital to our daily operations. There are 3 financial policies for holding cash. We want to meet the needs of our daily transactions to be able to pay our accounts payable and to pay our employees. We want to protect against uncertainties such as flood, the pandemic, or other emergencies that might arise. And cash reserves also have to do with the bond rating criteria. As you remember, this last year when we did sell bonds, the city did receive an upgrade in our rating. We are now a AAA rating. And having this cash reserves and having a good financial plan helped contribute to this. The city's financial position is to maintain a fund balance between 15 and 25% in the general fund for the cash flow and emergency purposes. In fiscal year 2003, the city council directed staff to move towards the upper end of that or to maintain up to 20 to 25% in reserves in the general fund. As seen on this slide, these 4 funds have council directive cash reserve funds, and these 2 are also set in order to maintain current operations, emergency needs, and it also helps with our bond rating having these cash reserve balances. Just a reminder that these 4 funds, the refuse fund, sewer, street, and stormwater fund, can only be used for the services that these fund provides. During this past goal-setting session, the emergency reserve balance was directed by council to be maintained at $1.5 million to $2 million. In the past, it was just a $1.5 million directive. Cash reserves, on this slide, it is noted that there's a spike in the balances in the October and November and the April and May, and these are the months when we do receive our highest property tax receipts. And the decline happens late in the year there, May, June timeframe, and this is due to the start of our construction season and then with the final capital expenditures that the city may purchase. Capital expenditures are defined as those expenditures for public improvements. They include preliminary studies, acquisition of property, or the purchase of equipment. You will find a schedule of the capital expenditures on pages 50 through 54 of the report. Management does make a concerted effort to limit the capital expenditures to the months when the revenue is high or those months when we receive the most property tax receipts. We do want to keep to a schedule unless there is an emergency on those capital expenditures. This is the 31st year for the vehicle maintenance program, and again, we make a concerted effort to do these purchases late in the year. This is in order to manage the vehicle fleet, decide what needs to be replaced. Things may change. This schedule is actually made a year in advance, so changes do happen at the end of the fiscal year. In summary, I'd like to say that the cash management goal provides a good information with regards to the past and the present and the future direction of the city's investments, cash reserves, and our capital expenditures. We will want to keep an eye on our cash reserves in the coming years. This past legislative session, they passed a new bill to phase out the state backfill. This will start in fiscal year 2023, and it will end in fiscal year 2029. Again, the backfill was a promise for the state to pay the local governments for the commercial and industrial property tax rollback cuts that this was enacted in 2013, and we have received property tax rollback each year, or property tax backfill each year since then. Just a reminder that we do not budget to spend this backfill on normal operations. We do use these funds for one-time capital projects. So in saying that, with the phase out of the property tax backfill, we will now no longer have that revenue stream for those one-time capital projects. We will continue to keep an eye on the national and local economies. City staff will continue to monitor our revenue sources, and it is likely that during the remainder of this calendar year, we will see some fiscal stresses in our financial numbers. Tonight, I'd like to thank Kathy Niebergall and Director Rodenbeck for their help in preparing and reviewing this report. And I'm also seeking a motion to approve this fiscal year 2022 cash management report.
Thank you. Before we go to the motion, does any council members have any questions we want to get into? Mr. Cruz? Councilmember Cruz?
Can we pull up that screen that had the percentages of reserves? I just had a curious, the sewer fund had a significant number. I was just wondering, is that setting aside for a project by chance, or if we get to there?
I guess I could jump in, Mr. Cruz. The sewer fund, if you know, we have the large project at the sewer plant that
Treatment plant,
we're
okay.
saving up for, yes.
Okay. So this isn't necessarily emergency, this is just a sinking fund building up for future, what this is, okay.
Correct, and also if we go to sell bonds for those projects, we will have to have established reserves for that bond rating as well.
Mm-hmm. Like a down payment, basically, yeah. Okay, so the emergency reserve there could, or wouldn't probably be used to funnel into any of those previous, no, that's separate. That's for anything in the city that blows up. Okay.
Any other questions? Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 cash
So moved.
management report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Due to the fact that this is has to do with the city's money, I'll let anyone from the gallery or the public that has any questions about it ask. Is there anyone on Zoom?
There's no one on Zoom raising their hand.
All right. Well, it's my first one. This is going to be a roll call, or it's a voice? All right, there we go. I got them all written down for the other meeting. It's a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. All in favor.
Well done, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Renning. All right. Well, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned, and we will be back at 7 p.m. for the city council meeting. Thank you.